A lot of times when we teach this commandment to our children, we teach it simply as, you shall not lie. That's normally how we would teach it to our children. We have to remember that all of the commandments are summary statements. They're a short statement that contains a great deal of information. All of the commandments represent a vast amount of biblical teaching on morality. When you think about the commandment, you shall not murder, the first thing that comes to mind is a violent act in which one person kills another person unjustly. But as we've talked about, when we talk about that commandment, it can also stand for much more. It tells us that we need to preserve our own lives and the lives of others. It tells us that we need to be careful about how much we eat and how much we drink. It tells us that we need to realize that prideful anger is sin. It shows us that we need to help people when they're depressed, and it exposes the attitude of revenge as a sinful attitude. So when you see thou shalt not murder, it is a short summary statement that represents a great deal more about morality. Each commandment is a summary that is much bigger than itself. It says a lot about how we relate to God and to one another. Well, the ninth commandment is like that. The ninth commandment is a short summary statement, and it says, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. What is the situation that immediately comes to mind when you think about that? If you were an Israelite and you were listening to the ninth commandment, the situation that would immediately come to mind is when you are representing, or when you're being a witness in the court of law. You shall not bear false testimony in the court of law. That's exactly what you would have thought about. But it is also a commandment that goes far, far past that one particular situation. In the old days in America, being a witness in the court of law went like this. You would be asked to go in front of the court, and then you would take your hand and you would put it onto the Bible, and you would be asked, do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And then you would say yes. And you were making this solemn declaration before men and before God that you were going to say things that were absolutely true when you went into that witness stand. If you were asked to testify about some murder, you would say what was absolutely true in that situation. Lying in a court case is considered to be a terrible sin in most any society that you would go to in the entire world. We know that this is something that is very important. Even if you're testifying about a relatively minor crime, it is bad to lie under oath. And it is ever so much more bad to lie if someone's life is on the line. If you're in a court case and you lie about murder, that would be terrible, because someone could face capital punishment that did not deserve to face capital punishment. And when you look at this particular commandment, how it plays out in the Bible, how it's talked about in the book of Deuteronomy, then you see how it is used in courtroom law. Deuteronomy chapter 19, verses 16 to 19 says this: if a malicious witness arises to accuse a person of wrongdoing, then both parties to the dispute shall appear before the Lord, before the priests and the judges who are in office in those days. The judges shall inquire diligently, and if a witness is a false witness and has accused his brother falsely, then you shall do to him as he is meant to do to his brother. So you shall purge evil from your midst. This is a verse that describes how the ninth commandment plays out in the court. Let's say that there is some witness and he is asked to testify about a case. And he says something that is not true. And as the judge carefully considers the case, he discovers that this witness has been lying. Then what should happen to that witness, this witness who lied, is he should face the penalty that the accused person is being tried for. If this man is being accused of stealing, and he has to pay restitution for that stealing, and there's some witness that says something that is not true in the court of law, then that witness has to pay the punishment for the crime. He would have to pay the restitution for stealing. That's something that you would have to do. Now let's say that the witness was testifying about a capital case. Let's say the witness was testifying about murder, and that witness lied about the murderer in some way, and the judge figured it out. Then the witness himself would face capital punishment. He would be killed. Because the ninth commandment implies something about justice. It is only fair that if you lie about someone else who's being tried in court, that you should pay the penalty that is due to them. It is very important that you not lie under oath. We should, as a Christian society, desire and seek to see perfect justice take place on earth. Another verse that is worth considering is Exodus chapter 23, verses 1 to 3. You shall not spread a false report. You shall not join hands with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. You should not fall in with the many to do evil, nor shall you bear witness in a lawsuit, siding with the many, so as to pervert justice. Nor shall you be partial to a poor man in his lawsuit. Perfect justice is when the guilty are punished and when the innocent go free. And it is absolutely wrong to testify falsely about a poor man simply because a poor man is poor. This verse tells us that it is wrong to be partial to a poor man, and if that punishment involves him paying restitution, and that restitution were to cost more than he could really afford, then the just judge could not say, he's poor, and so I'm just going to let him get away with it this time. The judge cannot let people off simply because they're poor or because they're rich. The just judge has to punish those who are guilty and let the innocent go free. That's what justice is about. So when you think about the ninth commandment, when you think about the first thing that would have come to mind in the mind of an Israelite hearing this commandment, then you should think about what goes on in the courtroom. It is very important for them to testify rightly about a person when a crime is being considered. God desires that the system of justice here on earth work well. We as Christians should have that same desire. We should desire in our hearts to see the guilty punished and the innocent go free. Let me ask you a question. How often does that happen? Is it something that happens all the time in the court of law? Then absolutely not. We can all think about cases where things didn't go like they should have. We can all think about cases where the innocent were punished and where the guilty went free. We understand that perfect justice doesn't happen very often in this life. The psalmist knew the same thing, and he complains about earthly judges in Psalm chapter 82, and this is what he says. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? The psalmist desires to see perfect justice. When he thinks about the ninth commandment, when he thinks about how things should go in the world, he desires to see perfect justice play out in the world. But he knows that that doesn't happen. And so he complains to God about these earthly judges that don't do that. There is some comfort for those of us who seek after justice and who desire it. There will come a day when there is a time of perfect justice. It is possible that a murderer walks away during his earthly trial on this earth, but there will be another trial that is coming. There will come a day when there is a perfect judge, God himself, God who knows every single thing that has ever happened in this world and will happen in this world, who knows every single thing that bad people have ever done. And he is going to judge perfectly every deed that has been done by man. Isaiah says, Behold, the day of the Lord comes, cruel with wrath and fierce anger, to make the land a desolation and to destroy its sinners from it. For the stars of the